Away from that, let's turn to security. In Borno State, troops of Operation Haden Kai have rescued another Chibok girl, and that's along with her baby. This was disclosed to newsmen at the Theatre of Operations in May Malari Cantonment, Maiduguri, by the theatre commander, Major General Ibrahim Ali. And TVC News' Jesse Tafida reports.
The Nigerian army has continued its onslaught against Boko Haram insurgents using both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches. Now, this has yielded positive results, with people now enjoying relative peace. Today, Theatre Commander Operation Hatin K, Major General Ibrahim Ali, is here to brief the press on the successes recorded. According to him, his troops have rescued another Chibok schoolgirl during an operation in the Sambisa forest. She is identified as Saratu Dauda.
Is listed on serial number 10 on the list of abducted Chibok schoolgirls. Saratu is 25 years old and a native of Mbalala in Chibok local government area of Borno State. She had 3 daughters, aged 7, 5, and 2 years old, with Bana, but however left them in the terrorist hideout during her escape. The Northeast Theatre of Operations under my command is committed to neutralizing all terrorist elements as well as criminals marauding the Northeast.
The rescued Chibok schoolgirl has been handed over to the Borno State government.
We have received quite a number of the girls. They are still in our custody. We continue to give them mental health, psychosocial support, making sure that they are empowered in one skill or another before they are handed over to the federal government to join their other sisters that were earlier released. So I'm really pleased with what I saw today. The military has done very well by looking after the young girls that have been picked. You can see Saratu is looking very, very well. We're happy about that. And I want to assure you that the Borno State government, through the Ministry of Women Affairs, will continue with the treatment and make sure that she's well rehabilitated and rejoined with her colleagues. But before then, we'll make arrangement for her to go and visit her family who haven't seen her in the last couple of years.
Of the over 276 girls abducted in 2014, about 183 have been rescued so far, and 93 are yet to be accounted for. The Nigerian army is sure not to rest on its oars until peace is achieved in the Northeast region. Jesse Tafida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
And to economic matters, let's tell you that the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has advised newly elected state governors and returning governors to prioritize investment in infrastructure, education, and basic health care. Okonjo-Iweala said this at the opening of the 2023 induction for re-elected and elected governors organized by the Nigerian Governors Forum in Abuja. She urged the governors to ensure they pay salaries of teachers, healthcare workers, and pensioners. She says they should work out ways to improve the internally generated revenue in their states and ensure transparency in the management of state resources.
States must figure out ways to increase IGR. This goes hand in hand with using your share of the federal allocations, which is substantial, more transparently, efficiently, and effectively. You must share with your state citizens how much PAC allocation you receive each month, how much IGR you collect, and how you spend it. We used to publish this information routinely during my time as finance minister under Presidents Obasanjo and Jonathan. We must resume this practice so your citizens can have information to hold you accountable. Excellencies, please, watch your debt profiles and keep careful control of expenditures, even as you invest in infrastructure, education, and basic health systems. Please endeavor to pay teachers, health workers, and others their salaries and retirees their pensions.
And for more on this development, let's speak with the Chief Executive Officer, Lit Network, Chukwuma Kenwa. He joins us live from our Abuja studio. Good to have you join us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So several economic indicators have been put out there by the National Bureau of Statistics, whether it's the inflation rate, GDP growth rate, or even the unemployment rate. But when you look at all of these figures, what does that tell you about where we are in terms of our economy as we prepare for the transition on May the 29th?
I would say that when you gauge the economic health of Nigeria, there is a lot more than should be desired. The country at the moment, it's not healthy economically. Judging the high debt profile of the nation, and the fact that the amount of money that we spend in subsidizing the refined crude oil that we use, or the refined products from crude oil, is still very high. And we know for the first part of the year, it stands at about 3.7 trillion. And if subsidies don't removed by the end of the year, we must have spent over 6.7 trillion. That's quite much. So when you look at it, but I think, like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala highlighted, advising governors like governor-elect to explore other options, especially judging from the fact that as long as Nigeria is concerned, there are two major sources of income for the states. You talk about the federal allocation and also the internally generated revenues. But we know that largely the economy of Nigeria is powered by informal sectors. The role of private businesses, SMEs in strengthening the economy. But I think one of the major problems we have is access to funds by these SMEs that still stands at double digits. I mean, there is no way we can actually grow a double digit like she has recommended without incentivizing SMEs, them being able, or business ideas to be funded. It's only when these small businesses are thriving that government can generate more revenues as an alternative to the federal allocations.
Okay, so let's talk about the statement that has been credited to the country director of the World Bank in Nigeria. He said that, look, Nigeria doesn't have a choice, that we must borrow to fund our 2023 budget deficit. He said, look, the deficit is about 10.7 trillion if you remove subsidy, for example, by June. But if you don't, then it ends up being about 12 trillion, which means that one of the big issues on the table of the president-elect would be, look, where do we find the money? And that's the question I'm asking you. Where exactly does he and his team, where should they be looking at, to find the money?
Three ways. Because if you ask me, I would say that yes, over time it's become a cliche in Nigeria, diversify the economy. Permit me to say that the economy is already diversified. All we now need to do is to incentivize other non-oil sectors to operate maximally. Because when you talk about internally generated revenues, we are not going to introduce that. There's already a structure for that, but we are talking about it performing optimally. So when you talk about where the president-elect can get the money to develop Nigeria, one will be to check the wastages. There's a lot of oil theft that is going on there in Nigeria. So we need to contain those wastages, both in terms of like oil bunkering. We lose both the crude and the refined product when it comes into Nigeria. Like there are a lot of reports to the fact that some of those things are sold illegally. So if the president-elect could check the issue of oil theft, that's going to help. Number two, we keep talking about removal of oil subsidy and all the rest of it. But I think what we should concentrate on more is operationalizing our refineries and ensuring that it is functioning optimally and maximally. Because when you have your refineries functioning, you don't need to subsidize anyone. You only subsidize something that you import. But why will you import what you already have in your own nation? I mean, we shouldn't be talking about oil issues like nations that do not have it. Nations that have it develop the capacities and capabilities to refine their oil, even make money from all other diversified chain that is associated with the crude oil, and then go further in selling the refined version, which give more money. I mean, in a recent research, it was discovered Nigeria loses hundreds of dollars in just one barrel of crude oil for selling the raw material and not the refined one.
Well, that's just a tax before I heard the president-elect. I wonder, you know, how the state governments, although have their work cut out for them. We'll see how, you know, all of this, their response to all of this in the coming days as we prepare for the inauguration. Thank you so much for talking to us. The chairman, Lit Network, Kumakewa.